From here on out, the weather is only getting colder where I live. Today on Meals with Maria, I'm cooking up some winter warming soups and stews to keep us going. These meals are generally healthy, inexpensive, and will warm you through even on the coldest of days. So snuggle up, grab a cup of hot coffee or tea, and enjoy the inspiration. We'll start with this delicious and easy recipe for stovetop minestrone soup. This hearty and flavorful soup is the perfect comfort food for a cold winter day. It's packed with healthy vegetables and beans, and it's simple to make on your stovetop. To begin, you want to gather your ingredients. You'll need 1 chopped medium onion, 2 stalks of celery, 2 cloves of garlic, and a 1/4 cup of minced parsley with 1 diced zucchini. In a large pot, you want to add the vegetables, but not the zucchini, to the pot. And we're going to cook those for about 15 minutes until the vegetables are starting to soften. You want to use about a tablespoon of oil. I actually happen to have leftover bacon grease, so that is just what I threw in my pot. Next, you want to add in 3 cups of chicken broth. I just had some from my freezer, so it was perfect. I had defrosted it and kind of cupped that in there. And then you can always use chicken bouillon for something like this too. And if you don't have any of the vegetables, such as the onion or the garlic, you can always use onion powder or garlic powder. You also want 1 can of diced tomatoes. You can add those right in there. And then off to the side, I'm using a blender, or you could always use like a hand blender to do this as well. And I'm combining 1 cup of chicken broth again with 1 can of drained and rinsed white beans. I used cannellini beans. You could also always use vegetable broth if you're trying to make this fully vegetarian. So you pour that bean mixture right into the soup, and this really is what makes the soup a little bit thicker, a little bit heartier. And then you want to add a teaspoon of dried rosemary, 2 bay leaves, and a teaspoon of dried basil, as well as the parsley. You can season this with salt and pepper to your taste. I actually use the anti-no-nos, and I love it in something like this. You want to stir everything together to combine, and then bring it to a boil. Then reduce your heat to a simmer and let it cook for about 40 minutes covered. Then remove the cover, add the zucchini and 2 cups of fresh or defrosted frozen spinach. And then you're going to cover that and simmer it for 10 more minutes. And during that time, you want to get some pasta going. I'm using ditalini pasta, just some small little pieces that I like to use in here. I think even some like Israeli couscous type thing might be great, or whatever pasta you have, really. Some mini macaronis would be good too. At this point, you can remove the bay leaves. If you remember, I never do. And when you serve it, you actually want to put the pasta in the bottom of the bowl and then pour the soup right over it, so you can kind of make your choice on how much pasta you want to use. You can salt it to your liking with salt and pepper, or again some of your favorite seasoned salts, and you can add a sprinkle of grated Parmesan cheese on top to each of the servings if you desire. You can enjoy this with a slice of crusty bread or crackers on the side, and this recipe makes enough for 8, so it's perfect for your whole family to enjoy, or even serve at like a luncheon or dinner party this time of year. I really enjoyed it because I love like a heartier soup like this, and the kids loved it, including Ben. This next one is a tasty and healthy recipe for cauliflower leek soup. This creamy soup is full of flavor and packed with nutrients, making it the perfect comfort food for a cold winter day. It's easy to make on the stovetop and can be served as a main course or a starter. You want to start by prepping your vegetables. Trim the root and dark green tops of the leeks and discard. Slice the leeks in half lengthwise and then rinse them under cold water to remove any dirt. I looked, but mine didn't actually have any, so. Then you want to chop the leeks into small pieces. You also want to cut a whole head of cauliflower into small florets and set those aside as well. Then you want to heat a large pot over low heat and add a tablespoon of butter or olive oil. Once that butter or oil is hot and melted, you want to add 1 tablespoon of flour and then cook, stirring with a wooden spoon for 1 to 2 minutes. We're basically going to make a roux here. Then you pour in 4 cups of chicken broth, vegetable broth, or chicken bouillon, whatever you have. Add in the cauliflower and leeks and bring that mixture to a boil. Let the soup simmer and cook for about 20 minutes or until that cauliflower is tender. And when the soup is ready, you want to use an immersion blender to puree the soup until it's smooth and creamy. You can also use a blender or a food processor to puree the soup in batches if you need to. You just want to make sure you don't put the soup all the way up to the top because it can overflow. Then season the soup with salt and pepper or your favorite seasoning. And if the soup is too thick, you can always add a little bit more broth to thin it out. So that's going to be your choice on how you like to have it. And the cauliflower leek soup is ready. You want to ladle this into bowls, and you can enjoy it with a sprinkle of fresh herbs or a drizzle of olive oil on top. The recipe makes enough for 4 to 6 servings, and I really enjoyed it. And my husband would have never known that there was cauliflower in it unless I told him. So I was like, so I want you to know, I want you to try this. And he tried it and he loved it. And I was like, just so you know, that is all cauliflower. Like, he would have thought it was a potato soup, like hands down. And he said it was full of flavor. And if you can remember, we only used a few ingredients for this. So it's really incredible the flavor you're really going to get out of that cauliflower and leek, and what is going to happen when you cook it like that. I was honestly shocked, and I couldn't believe how healthy it was. Next up, there is nothing like this hot and hearty chicken and andouille sausage stew to bring people together. You want to dice 1 onion, 1 green pepper, and 1 stalk of celery. In a large pot over medium-high heat, you want to add a tablespoon of any type of oil or butter that you want to use. And then we're going to add those vegetables into the pot and cook for 3 to 4 minutes. While those vegetables are cooking, it's a good opportunity to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and it will help you see my stuff in the future. You want to push those vegetables off to the side once they're done cooking, and place in 6 skinless bone-in thighs. So these are bone-in chicken thighs. I actually pulled the skin off myself because for me it's very hard to find that in my grocery stores, but it's easy enough, and I love bone-in chicken thighs because they're relatively inexpensive. You want to sprinkle them with your favorite seasoning salt, or just use salt and pepper, and then you want to cook for 2 to 3 minutes on each side. At this point, you want to sprinkle all of this, the vegetables, the chicken, everything, with 1 tablespoon of flour over those meat and vegetables, and then add 2 cups of water and 6 ounces of sliced andouille chicken sausage with 1 bay leaf. We're going to bring this to a boil, then reduce the heat to low and cover like most soups and stews. You want to simmer this for 30 to 35 minutes and remove that bay leaf, when you can, if you ever remember. It's just still not my thing. And I did not get the ending on camera, which is so sad, but you do want to serve this over rice or quinoa. I used rice. It was so hearty and delicious, and like nothing I'd ever had before. I really, really enjoyed it. Next meal is an Instant Pot beef stew. And like I said, I like to keep ground beef on hand. I also like to keep stew beef on hand. Like if I find it on sale, like that particular package, put it in the freezer and then make it when I have time. With this particular meal, I had some carrots on hand. Again, if you have celery, potatoes, whatever you got. And then I had some couple sweet potatoes and 1 regular potato and some bone broth. Use the bouillon if you have it, or you could use chicken broth if you really had to. We can make this happen with what you have. So the first step is putting the beef in the Instant Pot on saute. Once your beef is seared on all sides, add in 2 1/4 cups of beef broth. And they're going to kind of mix that around and add in a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, as well as a teaspoon of salt and pepper. Mix that up real well and add in 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce and 3 cloves of minced garlic. With 1 10-ounce can of tomato sauce. I'm adding in those carrots, some diced up potatoes. I did end up not using the regular potato because it was a little green, and someone had mentioned something about green potatoes in one of my last videos, and I was shocked to find out that the green potatoes are toxic. So if you see your potato is a little green, you can technically, I guess, peel it off, but it seems still like it's a little dangerous. And I found a red onion, so I diced that up and put that in there too. If you didn't have an onion, go ahead and add some onion powder. Cook on high pressure for 35 minutes and then natural release for 10 minutes. Now, as with everything I cook in the Instant Pot, this is absolutely delicious. Like, this is something I just threw together. I was like, okay, I have stew meat. What do I have in my refrigerator? What can I make work? And I switched some things out. I have no hesitation to make a beef stew with some sweet potatoes versus regular potatoes, and hey, red onions, they work too. I want to thank you so much for being here today. I hope you got some great soup and stew recipes. If you're looking for some more soup winter warmer inspiration, go ahead and click on this next video, and I'll see you all very soon. Someone like you.